time to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers and their cold start to the season. Right now, the Sixers are 1-6, which is tied for the worst record in the entire NBA at the moment. They are just playing so poorly right now. They're without Joel Embiid. They're without Tyrese Maxey now for the next 2 weeks as he sprained his hamstring, and they've been without Paul George at points. They've been injured. They haven't been playing good basketball. They've had stuff off the court as well. The Joel Embiid, Marcus Hayes incident. The Sixers front office potentially, lying about Embiid's health in the first place. It's just been all around a nightmare start to the season for these guys. And I'm going to go over the off the court stuff first, just get it over with, and then we can talk about the team. First of all, the off the court issues started with, them ruling Joel Embiid out right before, like a day before opening night. He was out, with a knee problem. The Sixers have been talking about how, they're not going to try and play Joel Embiid at back-to-backs this year, how they're going to try and do anything they can to get him healthy for April, healthy for May. Basically, Nick Nurse is trying to do what he did with Kawhi Leonard in 2019 again, and clearly it seems like the Sixers were lying about something. I think Joel was probably going through training camp, and I think Shams said this exact thing. He was going through training camp, probably his legs swelled up, and he was like, well, I want to make sure I'm 100% to start the season. And the Sixers, trying to sell tickets, trying to, make sure that they could still get as much value as they can and try to, keep the prices high. They're like, oh, he'll be fine. We're just going to reevaluate him in a few days. And then in a few days later, they said, oh, we're going to reevaluate him in a few days again. He'll be fine. And sure enough, reevaluated in a few days became a week and a half, 2 week absence, which I get it. You need to get Embiid back at 100%. I'm all for trying to get Embiid fully healthy. But once again, this team has just been horrible without Joel on the court. This has been something that's been an issue for Embiid literally his entire career. I think once or twice the Sixers went above 500 with Embiid off the court on teams he was on, which is just so pathetic to think about. Like, I get it. He's an MVP. He's a 7-8-time All-Star. He's one of the most valuable players in the league. I completely understand that, but the Sixers are genuinely a lottery team basically every year that Embiid gets injured, and it's just something that is so frustrating to watch as a fan, because then you realize, oh, well, the reason he comes back from these injuries is because they're so bad without him. I think I'm coming to the realization of, well, the Sixers might have to get rid of the back-to-back plan for Embiid if they keep playing like this. He's going to need to play back-to-backs to even, make the playoffs or the play-in the first place. We're going to need to start winning games at some point, and if this cold start continues, then we're really going to need Embiid in almost every single game, and it doesn't matter anymore, and we're just gonna, completely tear his body down again. It would be the same thing as last year, We were one of the best teams in the league with Embiid on the court, but the problem was we were one of the worst teams without him, and that's why we had him play in so many of these games consecutively last year, because, well, if Embiid's off the court, you might as well chalk it up to a loss. It doesn't matter what team you play. Like, him off the court immediately gives the other team fair ground. That's kind of what it feels like. And it's something that's just not sustainable at all, because you can't rely on one guy that much. I get it. Paul George has been out too, and now Tyrese Maxey is also going to be out. That's not fair to completely say that this is an Embiid issue right now, but over these last 2 games, with both PG and Maxey healthy, they have still lost. They did blow a 9-point lead with 5 minutes left against the Suns. Sure, Phoenix is a great team, and I said that, and that's why I'm not as mad about that loss, but still, you shouldn't be blowing 9-point leads with 5 minutes left. And in that Clippers game, well, it was tied at half, but they should have been up by 12-15 at halftime, but they had 12 fucking turnovers. They couldn't stop turning the ball over, and once the Clippers started hitting their shots in the second half, the game was over. It was done because they weren't going to be able to keep up with that onslaught. And in general, the Sixers have just been so bad to start the year. They're near the bottom of the league in points per game. They're near the bottom of the league in field goal percentage. They're near the bottom of the league in offensive rating. They are last in rebounds per game. They are last in assists per game. They've overall just been getting killed on both sides of the ball in different ways, and it's been so frustrating to watch. I'll start on the offensive side of the ball because it's been so stagnant. I've seen way more ISO ball than I really would have thought. I don't understand why we are all just, standing around, especially with Embiid not playing. Guys, we're going to need to move and get ourselves open because we don't have our best player. Like, just standing around and hoping Maxey bails us out is not a winning strategy. That's why we're 1-6, That's not going to work. It's not how you win games. And on the defensive end, it's been better, especially since Paul George came back. These last two games have definitely, been better. The Clippers just had an insane shooting half in the second half. But outside of that, their defense has looked improved. They've been switching better. They've been getting a lot more contests, but it still hasn't been perfect. We've still been rotating poorly, been missing rotations and leaving guys wide open in the corner for three. There still have been those little things, and as I said, the word chemistry, that has been one of the big issues for me. This Sixers team, it's 7 games in. I completely understand. I get it. Most of these guys have not played together before, but you could just tell that their chemistry is not good right now. A simple way of looking at it, going back to the Clippers game, is I saw a bunch of dribble handoffs where guy takes dribble, hands it off to the guy, to the guard or whoever's getting the ball. And so many of the times when I saw either the guy handing it off or the guy catching the ball, I would see the ball basically get bobbled, or it would just be a janky handoff. And those little things, you might be watching the game and you might not really realize it, but if you key on it and you really see what's going on, you can understand that those little things add up so much. These switches, these call-outs, yelling as a team, the chemistry. All of that hasn't really been there just yet. This team doesn't have that chemistry, and I think with Embiid back, that'll definitely change. They'll completely understand what team that they're going to try and be once Joel gets back on the court, but you also need to find a way to win these games without him there. You need to basically be a 500 team. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to be like a 45-50 win playoff team without him on the court. That's not what we're asking. All we're asking you to do is be a few games below 500, near 500. I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that any Sixers fan would consider that a victory if we were like 3 games below 500 without Embiid. And that's what the Sixers are going to need to do the rest of the year. If they can go 500 in the Embiid-less games, they're going to be fine. I will say that right now. If they can find a way throughout the next 70 games, let's say they play 15 of them without Embiid, probably going to be a little more. Let's say they play 20 of them without Embiid, and they go 10-10, they're going to be a playoff team. They are. They're going to be too good when Embiid does get back on the court, and they will be a playoff team. However, if they win like 6 of those, or if they win 7 of those, then you're going to start talking, because then as the Sixers continue to lose these games without Embiid on the court, like I said earlier, they're going to have to start playing him back-to-backs. They're going to have to start playing him more just because they're going to need to win games, because, without Joel Embiid, they don't win as many games. It's as simple as that. It's been the whole vocal point of this video. They are nowhere near as good of a team without Joel Embiid than they are with Joel Embiid. And lastly, it's just been, an issue for some of these role players. We've seen Caleb Martin get off to a cold shooting start. We've seen Andre Drummond not be as good as we'd liked him to be. We've seen Eric Gordon not play as well as we would have liked him to be. Reggie Jackson, I didn't really like him, but he's barely played at all. And I look at this and I see, just so many issues. And I wonder why Nick Nurse isn't playing the young guys more. Give a guy like Jared McCain some run. Give a guy like Ricky Council some run, because you need some spark off the bench right now. If you're going to, especially in these games without Embiid, if you're going to run, both Martin and Oubre together, especially since I think they're going to run that until they make a trade at the deadline, they're going to make their big move to probably move Oubre or Martin to the bench. I think it's going to be Oubre. I hope it's going to be Oubre as well, just because his style of play, which is score first, only really pass the ball when it's necessary, is more fit for a bench player. But fill the young guys around them. Play McCain, play Ricky Council, play these young guys who could really turn into something by the end of the year, because if they play well off the bench, their young guys can win them a few games. If McCain has a 20-point game where he makes 3 threes off the bench, that's better than what Eric Gordon's going to do. If Ricky Council has a 14-point game where he brings a bunch of intensity and shoots 60% from the field, well, that's better than what KJ Martin would have done. I get it. You're trying to, bring your veterans in because you think they'll bring more IQ, more stuff like that, but at this point, the Sixers just need to score. They need something to spark them on the offensive side of the ball, and going to these same things over and over again just is not working. And I don't want to be all negative. It's probably going to be the end of the negative stuff, because unlike most fans, I've not completely given up on this team. I probably am a little delusional, a little biased. There's definitely a little bit of that in me, I can't lie, but I also do think that once this team is fully healthy, once they are ready, and I think, if the thing about Tyrese Maxey is true, where he will only be out 2 weeks, if you can handle those 2 weeks and go 500, once Embiid comes back, PG's going to play 2 games by himself, tomorrow against the Lakers, Sunday against the Hornets. If you're able to go 500 until Maxey comes back, you're basically going to be positioning yourself in the 11-12 seed in the East. And once all 3 of those guys are there, you're still only a few games out of 3rd, 4th place, whatever it is. You can go on a run really easily. You can go on a winning streak just off of, the big 3. Those 3 guys are on paper probably the most talented big 3 in the entire league. Those 3 guys right there can score you a bunch of points. 2 of them are really good defenders, especially Embiid. Maxey is one of those guys that can just go on absolute heaters and completely takes over the game on the offensive side of the ball. So the Sixers have the talent, and they do have a few depth guys that I like, but it's going to take time, and most importantly, they're going to need to win some games without Embiid. And for my Sixers fans out there that are already, claiming doom and gloom and saying, oh, well, this is the Al Horford season all over again. Here we go. First of all, that Al Horford season, we started out 5-6-0 and we're like one of the best teams in the league, through the first 6 games of the season. Everybody thought we were going to be a finals contender. They made the right decision with Jimmy Butler. Maybe they're not as crazy as we thought. Then the rest of the season happened. My favorite Sixers team of all time, the year, the James Harden, Joel Embiid year, that was probably the most fun I've ever had as a Sixers fan, even more than that Jimmy Butler year of 2019. That Sixers team started off 11-11 and was 9th in the Eastern Conference, a 4th of the year in, and everybody thought the same thing. Oh my God, we're just not that good. Then the next 4 months, they were the best team in the NBA regular season-wise throughout, the entire rest of the season. They were the best team record-wise throughout the entire league, the final 4 months of the year. So I look at those things, and that's why I'm not, oh, well, the season's over, all this, all that. I get it. It's really frustrating. Most of this video, I was rambling on about how frustrated I've been about this team because you've got every right to be frustrated. They've been playing bad basketball. The organization lied to us about the Embiid stuff. We have a reason to be bitter, but these guys are talented. They're extremely talented. They're one of those teams that can turn it around like that because, bam, they can go on an 8-game winning streak and they're back above 500. That's how the NBA works. Sometimes you're really cold, sometimes you're really hot, and I think the Sixers are just off to a really cold start to the year. I kind of feel the same way about the Milwaukee Bucks a little bit, even if I don't like Milwaukee's coaching as much as I like ours. But it's really early. Do I get your frustrations? Yeah, because I'm frustrated too. But I think these guys are going to be fine. They're too talented. And if it is a nightmare season, then hey, we can laugh along the way, right? Like, we can just laugh through the pain. Like, come on. If we keep having this nightmare season from hell, then at least it could be funny, right? Right? I think. I hope it'll at least be funny. But I just hope that they can turn it around. That's the one thing that we're all hoping for. Can these guys turn it around? And I'm giving them probably another month and a half. I will say by Christmas we should know what this team is. That would be my guess to all you fans. If they still are like having issues by Christmas time, yeah, I'm going to hit the big red panic button and I'm going to start being, we're screwed. But through the first few weeks, and especially really through the first month of the year, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to, think that the season is done because, dude, it's the NBA, man. It's especially the NBA in the Eastern Conference. This shit gets freaking weird. We know that, who's the 3rd seed of the East right now? Are the Brooklyn Nets the 3 seed or like the Detroit Pistons? Somebody weird is the number 3 seed or tied for 3rd in the Eastern Conference right now. And you look at that and you just know that stuff's going to change. It's super early on in the year. And I think they're going to be fine. I really do. And I want to see what you guys think about the Sixers, though. Do you think that they're going to be fine? Will they be able to turn it around based on talent? Or will it be a year like the Memphis Grizzlies had from last year where they're just never going to be healthy and they're going to just keep losing games and they're going to, not make the playoffs, not make the play-in, because that is also a very possible outcome. I do want to see what your guys' thoughts are on that. I hope you guys watched this entire video. If you did, I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I will be back tomorrow to actually, recap all of the games in the NBA. I didn't want to do that today. I just wanted to talk about my team for a little while. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. God bless, and I'll be back to recap the 3 games that happened in the NBA going on tonight.